Yes, you, watching this video. Do you want to own a piece of Scribbler? Only not a lock of hair or blood or flesh or anything else that will get you in trouble with the law? Well, now you can, with t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags and mugs featuring Obab Scribbler at her Teespring store. You know you want to. I shall now stop talking in third person and send you on to the video. Be lovely to each other and enjoy the show.
Last night had been the worst of her life. No two ways about it. Sunset Shimmer sat on her bed in Celestia's house, knees brought to her chest as she tried to cry more. That might sound odd to the uninitiated, actually wanting to cry, but the former unicorn was the farthest thing from uninitiated. Ever since she got home, it was as if the tears just stopped flowing. No matter how many bad thoughts pervaded her mind, how many things she remembered herself doing, how many mistakes she made, it was as though her metaphorical floodgates were sealed shut. Perhaps, were it not a magically induced facing of her inner demons, that would have been a small comfort. But Sunset Shimmer did not become Princess Celestia's student for nothing. She knew magic better than most could ever hope to. And this fact did not bode well for her. The knock on her door pulled her from that thought only temporarily. In all honesty, she'd barely heard it, and part of her wondered why they even bothered to knock. Still, she let out a small
"Come in,"
just barely loud enough for the person on the other side of the door to hear it. In came Celestia, Sunset's caretaker and principal. And by the look on her face, well, actually, Sunset couldn't tell for once. It was far less angry than she was expecting, but still held all the disappointment she felt deserved to be thrown her way. Actually, if she was being honest, it held less.
"Sunset?"
Celestia began, still maintaining the same calm she always did.
"Last night was... I'm not even sure what to say about that."
"You don't have to say anything,"
Sunset lamented, not being able to look Celestia in the eyes.
"I'll pack my things and be out of your hair by the end of the day."
Silence engulfed the space between the two, as 1,000 thoughts ran through the unicorn girl's mind. Even hearing that same voice brought the memories back in full swing, reminding her of her failures with both Celestias. There was probably 1,000,001 things that the older woman wanted to say to her. She could imagine any one of them.
"Sunset, I'm not kicking you out."
Except that one. That was not on the list. Abject shock was her initial response, in a large enough quantity to actually let her look to Celestia dumbfoundedly. The idea that after what she saw, she was still willing to let Sunset live here? It was something near impossible for her to wrap her head around.
Why?
Celestia smiled.
"I told you once that I'll never give up on you, didn't I?"
I'd assume this goes well beyond what you meant when you said that.
"Perhaps. But I'm not about to go back on my word, especially given that the princess herself believed in you."
Sunset Shimmer looked away, remembering Twilight and how she'd pulled her out of that pit. How she had offered her friends as teachers to try and find her a new way. It was hands down the single nicest thing any pony had ever done for her, and far more than she could ever repay. But, of course, Sunset knew it was all a farce. There was no way those girls would ever want to help her. Still, though, at least she wouldn't be on the streets. So, hey, silver lining.
But I assume I'm going to be punished. Not to say I don't deserve it,"
Sunset said matter-of-factly.
"Well, other than obviously helping the construction crew once they start working on the wall,"
Celestia explained.
"you're suspended until further notice. and not allowed on campus except to help with the construction. I think that will be ample punishment.
That got Sunset's attention.
What? That's it? You're not going to take away my video games or my TV or my phone or anything like that?
To this, the principal of Canterlot High School shrugged.
I know next to nothing about magic, but something tells me you're not exactly in the mood to use those for any sort of wrongdoing right now.
Sunset looked away in acknowledgement.
She's right, but who knows how long this will last.
Now then, I've sent Luna out on the town to pick up a few things, so I'll be here. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask.
When she did not get an answer, Celestia decided to give the girl some space. As the door shut softly, Sunset was left to ponder on her feelings further. Unfortunately, it was getting her nowhere, and the more she thought about it, the more upset she got. Eventually, desperately needing something to get it off her mind, Sunset booted up her PS3. The first thing she did was check to see if Priz was online, and sure enough, they were. Prisma Strider, or as Sunset knew them, Priz, was one of the only people she had in her friends list. They met playing Street Fighter, which they still played together on a regular basis. It was always a good de-stressor after a long day of school or of plotting to come home and enjoy some fighting games with them, and it helped that Priz was always usually up for a match. And so, Sunset went into their messages and sent them one. Vesper Princess.
Hey, Priz.
Prisma Strider.
Yo.
Vesper Princess.
You up for a few rounds?
Prisma Strider.
Always.
That brought some small comfort to soothe Sunset's fraying nerves. Booting up Street Fighter 4, Sunset got into a lobby immediately, and the two wasted no time getting to it. Priz picked Yoon for the first round, but Sunset took her time. On any normal day, she would have picked Adon. She'd always liked the Muay Thai fighter, seeing quite a bit of herself in him. But now, everything she'd liked about him, his confidence, his take-no-shit attitude, his drive to become the best, it all reflected negatively in her mind, because it was all the things that she could not stand about herself right now. Eventually, she just went with a random fighter. And it gave her Adon, Prisma Strider.
Lol.
Sunset sighed, but played anyway. She wasn't even that good with Adon, and now that she didn't feel the same spark he once had, her play was even worse. The first round lasted about 15 seconds, and the second, while longer, ended up being a perfect on the part of Priz. So, for the second round, she tried random again. Dan Hibiki, the character she looked down on the most because of his undeserved arrogance. At least Adon could back up his ego. Okay, she could work with this. If she recalled correctly, he played kind of like Ryo and Ken. Anyone could play Ryo and Ken, so she could probably figure out Dan. Or so she thought. His fireball was pathetic, the EX version only reaching half the range of his betters. His moves felt clunkier in a way, and Priz's Makoto was as strong as ever. She just could not keep up.
Okay, third time's a charm, I guess. Come on, give me something good.
Rufus. Her most hated character. The universe really was just messing with her now. Even Priz noticed, as before the match even began, the connection was stopped, and Sunset received a message. Prisma Strider.
Hey, you okay? You never go random.
Honestly, hearing that only made the situation worse. Priz was worried something was up, despite them not knowing each other. How was she supposed to react to that? Well, by asking a question, apparently. Vesper Princess.
Priz, are we friends?
Prisma Strider.
You're in my friends list, yeah?
Vesper Princess.
No, like, are we friends?
There was a bit of a longer pause between messages, which sent a bolt of worry through Sunset's body. Did she just make it awkward? Probably. That wasn't just something you asked someone you'd only played online with. Eventually, Priz did respond back. Prisma Strider.
If you'd like to be, sure. Is something up? You seem kinda out of it.
Vespa Princess.
Yeah. I messed up real bad last night, and now I feel horrible.
Understatement of the century right there. She could not even describe how horrendously she fucked up with words alone. All she'd ever wanted had come crashing down around her, and all because she was arrogant enough to believe that she deserved something beyond her ken. And now, no one was here to help. Prisma Strider.
Want to talk about it? Hop in VC with me, and you can vent.
Eyes widened in genuine shock, Sunset could not believe what she was reading. Sure, Priz had said they'd be friends with her, but they were willing to try and help? Well, who was Sunset to use a rather strange Earth expression, to look a gift horse in the mouth? Plugging in her headset and hopping into VC with Priz, the thoughts of what to say flooded the former unicorn's mind. There was so much she wanted to talk about, so much she wished she could put into words. But she was not about to unload all of that onto Priz, especially considering half of it could probably have her committed to an insane asylum. She would have to parse details and choose her words carefully. But first, probably good to make sure the connection worked.
Hey, can you hear me?
Silence.
Priz, you there?
More silence. Sunset sighed.
I'll disconnect and...
Sunset Shimmer? Is that you?
5 little words was all it took, sending a chill up Sunset's spine, so intense that she feared she might freeze from the inside out. 5 little words from one familiar tomboyish voice. She didn't want to believe it. It couldn't honestly be...
Rainbow Dash?
It is you! This is great!
Rainbow Dash continued talking, but the words were tuned out by Sunset's thoughts, which were racing faster than she could hope to keep up with. Namely, thoughts screaming at her that she was an idiot.
Of course it was Rainbow Dash. I mean, come on, Prisma Strider. She might as well have used her real name. This whole time I've been playing Street Fighter with her, and now I've basically just screwed over any chance of ever playing games with Priz again. Me and my big mouth.
Whatever Rainbow Dash was talking about, Sunset stopped listening. She just left the VC, unplugged her headset, and turned off the PS3 before she could get any kind of messages asking what was up. The last thing she wanted right now was to be reminded of her failures, of the charity case that she had been reduced to. But if that was the case, then why did it hurt so much thinking about her?